we're back. We're going to have Hercules. We're going to be talking about Area 51, so stay tuned.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Boy, that weather, I can't tell you, I got to move to a different location. Okay, well, let's get Hercules on the line right now. I'm going to give him a call, and we'll get him on here, and we'll be talking about Area 51, plus a great book about Area 51. So let's give it a try here.
Greetings.
Greetings. How you doing, Hercules?
Okay, Gary, how are you?
I am alive. At my age, that's a gift every day when I can wake up and find my wallet.
I'm in my 60s. I don't know how old you are, but I feel the same way.
I'm going on 68, and I feel 78 right now.
Oh, bless you. May Olympus bless you.
Well, hey.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I'm glad I have you on. And why don't you tell everybody about you and your last name, and you do a radio show, and you got some, you contribute to a great book about Area 51. So let's talk all about that first, and then we can get into Area 51.
Okay. My name is Hercules Invictus, and basically my life is all about applied mythology. How can I apply Greek mythology to this world in its many facets? So I've applied it to everything I could possibly think of, including the paranormal. And I've explored the paranormal throughout my life. And I've contributed to, thus far, 14 of Tim Beckley's anthologies, I believe. And a few of them have been about UFOs. Tim is an awesome person. I first met him in person during the days when the Fortean Society, run by John Keel, was still active in New York. And then we reconnected when he was making movies, and I started reviewing some of his books. And as time went by, I contributed to one of the books, and the rest is history there. It is an awesome experience being in that group of people who I've actually been reading their books since I was a teenager. And now I'm very excited about the last two books, Transmissions from the Ashtar Command, the Solar Council, and also the Area 51 Warning Keep Out. I have 3 podcasts currently. My first one is called Voice of Olympus, and that is about living mythology. We cover everything from Olympian spirituality to Olympian psychology to video games and comic books and television shows and the sword and sandal movies of my youth and mythic television shows and movies of today. So anything that has mythology in it will get covered in that show. Then I have the Elysium Project. I've spent a lot of my life in public service and in different capacities. I've worked in hospitals for not-for-profit organizations. I've gotten involved politically. I do a lot of volunteer work. I have kind of shaped my life towards the heroic ideal of my ancestors and giving to the community that I was born into. And the Elysium Project focuses on people who are trying to make the world a better place. So I have politicians on the show, directors of social service programs, labor leaders, people who are volunteering and trying to make a difference. So anybody who's trying to make this world a better place is on that podcast. And then my third podcast is called Pride of Olympus, and that's about kind of celestial Olympianism or cosmic Olympianism and how it ties into the UFO spiritualities of today.
Interesting. How do you have time for all this, Hercules?
I keep very busy. I love engaging life, and this is the way I've always engaged life, and I will continue to engage it, and I have a lot of fun.
Sounds like it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have a tendency of sleeping into about 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I then research what my guest is going to be that night, really heavy. And then I book guests all day long for the show coming up. And then, I get ready for my show, work on the equipment, and then I find myself going to bed about 3 o'clock in the morning.
I do pretty much the same, except I fit in some more things in with the booking guests and designing shows. A lot of people don't realize how much work that is. It is a phenomenal amount of work that goes into putting a show together. So thank you so much for putting so much time into this interview. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, I couldn't pass it by. Anything to do with Area 51 and, how do you, I'm going to talk about something. I got people really mad at me. Okay. Art Bell, when he retired, he brought on, his producer to take over the show, Heather Wade. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And
no.
And she, didn't have quite the listenership that she expected. Me and Art were friends. I known Art for many years before he passed on. In fact, I was retired, and he's the one that talked me out of retirement and getting back on.
I'm glad you did.
Anyway, she started this thing about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I should say, about storming Area 51. And she was trying to get all her listeners to go to Nevada, go to Area 51, and walk onto Area 51. And, she was saying, I'll even take a bullet to prove that there's aliens on the base. And,
wow,
you don't know what your listeners are like. Because I don't know I don't know how they are mentally, if somebody is stable or not stable. But you sit there and telling people they need to go to Area 51 and crash into it. And she's saying, I'll even take a bullet. It scared me like you wouldn't believe. It really did. And then, when for some reason she got off the radio and I go, oh boy, I'm relieved that didn't happen. Because I was scared. I don't want to see anybody die. And then here months ago, this Facebook thing started, as somebody trying to make money off of it naturally, but to storm Area 51. And it started scaring me because, they don't look at going on Area 51 as a happy thing to do. As you know, like 2 months ago, a guy decided to go on Area 51, and he came out in a body bag.
Yeah, you have to take what you say very seriously, especially if you're a public person, because again, you don't know how people are going to react, and in the mainstream media too, you see, very often that people say things, and then the results are often tragic because, as you said, you don't know how someone will react to what you say. So I too am of the school that you need to be very careful as to what you say.
Yeah, and my feeling, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's alien technology anymore on Area 51. I think it's been moved to somewhere else. I could be totally wrong, but I think by storming it's not going to accomplish anything. But what's your whole, because we're going to be talking here for almost 2 hours about Area 51. What's your what's your gut feeling about what's going on with Area 51? Do you think that they still have UFOs or ever had UFOs on in Area 51?
Well, my particular view of life is mystic, and I'm very interested in the stories that people tell, because whether the stories are based in fact, or as most people understand it, or in a personal experience, these stories have an effect on people, on the person who's telling the story, and on the people who believe the story, and on the people affected by the people who believe the story. And I started in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Like in Pennsylvania, I had the Regional Folklore Society, and it was I have it in a library once or twice a month, and folks would come over and share their ghost stories, their UFO stories, and so forth. And they didn't judge, whether the stories were factually true, although we did investigate certain things. Because the person who was relating the tale was obviously, they believed that it had some reality, and their belief was sometimes contagious or matched the experiences of other people. So we would look at stories and their effects on people. And Area 51 certainly has a vast amount of mythology attached to it. I believe that there were alien crafts that were recovered. And I also believe that there is a lot of experimentation with terrestrial crafts that's top secret. And where you draw the line between what might be an actual craft that is from beyond the Earth and one that was designed here and then just never became mainstream, I don't know where to draw that line. I'm certainly not qualified, but Area 51 has come to stand for that secrecy. The place where hidden aspects of our government interact with hidden aspects of our reality, and all sorts of weird experimentation takes on. And the stories vary wildly. And it's very difficult to build like a cohesive narrative from the tales that we have, although various themes are recurrent. So my interest in Area 51 and my contribution to that particular book was that the stories might seem new because they're couched in modern world governments and beliefs about UFOs that have arisen in our time. But the concept of like an underground base where experiments are going on and that things are hidden, things that sometimes come out and terrorize the populace or are a danger to our Earth, secrets that hide other secrets, that is very ancient. And in the tales of the days of the Titans, and even before, when you had the primordial powers in Greek mythology, Uranos, or Uranus, as we sometimes called in English, he was an experimenter, and he experimented very much, and he was very creative, and he created all sorts of monstrous and beautiful creatures, which when he lost the heavens to his son Kronos, these experiments, the ones that weren't destroyed, were hidden in Tartarus, which is a dark dimension that's below the Earth or accessible through tunnels. And deep in the Earth, these things were hidden, and sometimes they got out, and sometimes they were used by celestial powers for their wars, and there was a lot of selective breeding in the Greek myths where the gods and other powers did selective breeding with humans to create heroes, and so all of those themes, which appear to be very modern, are actually very, very old. And that was my contribution